This science fiction guy doesn't look like any kind of plane at all. Even his appearance makes people feel that he can't fly at all. But 80 years ago, this kind of black technology that surpasses everyone's recognition came out of thin air. It was precisely because of his appearance that the American B-2 bomber was born. Today, we will talk about the past life of this black technology, with the help of Duncan's fish. Note that the video is a bit long. Duncan's friends, please hold a tissue and light the cigarette. We continue. In 1941, the United States had the world's best bomber, the B-17. But it had a fatal flaw, which was the flight distance of only 3,000 kilometers. This is far from enough, because the United States is about to be involved in the Second World War. Nazi Germany has conquered most of Europe, and this bomber will not be able to reach Nazi Germany at all. Therefore, the United States Air Force needs a new bomber, a bomber that can fly all the way from North America to Europe to attack Nazi targets, and can return safely. Therefore, the development of a new bomber has been put on the agenda. The traditional view is that the nose of this aircraft must be large enough to carry a larger load, at least 2 to 3 times bigger than the existing bomber. It has to have a huge aircraft, a bunch of engines and fuel tanks, but in this way, its speed is relatively slow, and its huge weight is easy to become an attack target. An aircraft designer by the name of Jack Northrop proposed a bold plan at this time. On any aircraft, the weight of its engine, tail and fuselage will be reduced, thereby reducing the aircraft performance. So if we remove all these factors, will there be only one wing left? The result is the shape you see. It maximizes the power and has almost no resistance. If it can fly, it will be the latest bomber of the era. So Northrop began to study it, and the United States Air Force is very interested in this project, and ordered Northrop and his research team to develop this new bomber in 2 years. If you want to travel all the way to Europe safely, you have to fly more than 9,000 kilometers, and you have to fly in the air for nearly 24 hours. Such performance indicators at that time were not a challenge, but in the end, it was still Northrop who successfully engineered the prototype. In April 1946, when the first prototype was released, the whole world was shocked. No one had ever seen such an aircraft. This bomber was named XB-35. What was even more shocking was that the thing had successfully completed the first flight 2 months later. By the second half of 1946, there were 13 XB-35 models in emergency production. With the rapid development of the post-war aviation industry, the aircraft engine has been transformed into a more efficient jet engine by the traditional rocket system. As a result, the United States Air Force requested that 2 of the XB-35s be renamed as YB-49 by the propeller. The YB-49, which was modified into a jet engine, was also successfully piloted a year later. These 2 aircraft will be assessed by the Air Force to see which one is most suitable for the United States Air Force. However, in the next few years, these 13 advanced aircraft will be destroyed one by one, or dismantled into waste. Why is that? First of all, the XB-35 rocket launcher, its rocket engine was not the most advanced at the time, and it was very unreliable. Almost every test flight was terminated due to overheating of the rocket launcher's blades, or failure of the transmission, and the 2 YB-49 jet fighters, which were modified, became the biggest hope for Northrop. But although the jet fighter has advanced performance, it is destined to consume more fuel than the rocket launcher, which means that its range will be reduced to half of the original design. To achieve the original range, it must be removed from 2 bomb hoses and changed to an oil tank, which will sacrifice its firepower again. This is why the YB-49 is in an awkward situation. On June 4, 1948, the first YB-49 was handed over to the United States Air Force for test flight evaluation. The next day, 5 test pilots were formed to perform routine test flights. These 5 test pilots were the best pilots at the time. At first, everything went smoothly. They were driving the YB-49 bomber, flying steadily from the runway. But 40 minutes later, a disaster occurred. The plane began to swing left and right in the air, and then began to lose speed, and then spun down and fell straight down. In the end, all 5 test pilots on the plane died. Then, they tested the other YB-49s, and soon discovered a lot of controllability problems. So, Roslov spent several years to develop a driving system to try to solve this problem. At that time, there was no computer, and these controllability problems were almost unsolvable. And in another test flight in March 1950, the disaster came again. A YB-49 front wheel fell off during a high-speed taxiing, causing the plane to collapse and be destroyed. This made the United States Air Force completely distrustful of this bomber. At the same time, another rocket bomber, the B-36, has been deployed. It has also been able to meet the overall flight. Like the XB-35, it also released the B-47, which is a spray type. The performance indicator is better than the YB-49. And at that time, a new bomber, the B-52, was also in the development stage. These are all strategic bombers, capable of carrying atomic bombs and other large bombs. And the aircraft of Northrop can only carry some old small bombs. In the end, its designs XB-35 and YB-49 were all destroyed. All the prototype planes were dismantled and destroyed. Northrop was so sad that he finally left the company in 1952. It is a pity that the full-fledged aircraft he invented did not succeed. Until 1980, he saw the future again. In 1980, just a year before his death, Northrop was invited to participate in the new mini-aircraft that is being developed. The huge full-fledged aircraft looks almost the same as the YB-49. The performance is not only better than the YB-49, but also has the ability to avoid radar search. It is the second stealth bomber. The B-2 bomber is very stable under the control of the computer. It is the most advanced bomber in the world so far. Roslop is crying and trembling. He finally understands why God has let him live for so many years. It is to make him realize that his dream has finally come true.